all Tottenham has needed to do for the last however many years was just get rid of Harry Kane. Clearly the only guy holding them back because, wow, they have had a great start this season.
Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to WagerTalk TV and Stoppage Time. This is the EPL version of Stoppage Time. We've got three big games this weekend that we are going to cover. We're going to do Everton, Brighton. We're going to do Newcastle and Arsenal and Tottenham and Chelsea. That Tottenham-Chelsea game goes on Monday and closes out the week. We've got plays on all three of them. And with me from WagerTalk.com, it's Kevin Dolan, Nick Borman, and Pavlos Lagaretos, three of the best soccer guys I know. And guys, we got to get right to it because we got three very good games. I've got an unbelievable promo that I'm going to mention to you guys after we do the Newcastle Arsenal game. But there's been a ton of midweek action going on thus far. It was EFL Cup. It's not as good as the FA Cup, but teams have been in midweek action, so we'll see how that plays out on this weekend. Everton at home plus 210. The draw is plus 274. Brighton plus 118. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one, but Everton's playing a lot better, and I think the reason they're playing a lot better is they are finally scoring, something we didn't see them do early on in the season, and Nick will probably point to it later on. They were generating chances. The XG was there. The goals weren't. But they are scoring now. They've gotten a little bit healthier. And Brighton is a team that we know can bring it each and every game, can score goals under Roberto De Zerbi. This total is sitting at 3 right now. If it was at 3.25, I would stay completely off of it. If it was a little lower, I would be all over it. But at 3, I'm perfectly happy with taking the over in this game. And that's where I'm leaning myself. What are your thoughts, Kev?
I like it, Carmine. I actually like a ton of things in this game, to be honest. I like Brighton to win outright. I like the both teams to score. I like the over as well. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with your pick there. The main reason for why I think all this is I wrote a free pick right up for Everton's game against Burnley in the League Cup last night. I picked Everton to win that game, which, they did. And while a lot of League Cup matches, don't mean much to Premier League teams until very, very deep in the competition, you'll often, find experimental lineups and so on. That wasn't the case with Everton last night. Obviously we're getting pretty deep in the competition, but, Calvert-Lewin's on there, Dan Juma, Tarkowski and so on, all starting because that win last night has put Everton into the quarterfinals of, look, it's not the most major cup, but it's nevertheless a big cup. So they were always going to take that seriously. Not Sean Dyche in the quarterfinals of a big cup, he'll take that every day of the week. So, Everton are off a short week here. They face a Brighton side that, look, while they haven't been great across recent weeks, they are getting healthier. They've had a full week off to prepare for this one. Evan Ferguson's back to full fitness. Joe Pedro and so on. They're getting a couple of other players back as well. So Brighton are rested. They're probably the healthiest they've been in weeks now. And despite what recent form may tell us, I still have Brighton rated as the superior team heading into this one. So I expect this to be a high-scoring game on Saturday. I think both teams will find the back of the net. And I keep coming back to that 3-1 correct scoreline as well for some reason as well. In Brighton's favour, obviously. I do not see Everton winning 3-1. Possible, I suppose. But if I had to make one selection in this game, it would be the Brighton team total over 1.5 goals at minus 130. I think that's a fair price. I just don't see Everton being able to deny a healthy, Brighton side here this weekend. And I believe Brighton breeze past that 1.5 team total as a result.
Right, Kevin Dolan at WagerTalk.com. Kev, I'm going to come right back to you because I want to throw a couple different version of bets based on what you said. Would you take one of these or would you take both of these? You can take both teams to score and over 2.5. It's minus 135. Or if you really like Brighton and the total, you can take Brighton and over 2.5, and that's plus 200. That is a very enticing odds on this. And you look at the last 3 contests between these 3. Last year, the away team won both games. Everton go to Brighton, win 5-1. Prior to that, in the reverse fixture, Brighton go to Everton and win 4-1. And then the fixture from the previous year finishes 3-2 for Brighton in Everton. That's a lot of goals. Which one of those prop bets would you lean more to?
It's funny you mentioned that because I wrote down on my list. I actually had Brighton and both teams to score. I forget what the price was now, but it was funny because I was coming on the show. Obviously, I'm like, Carmine's only going to let me pick one of these because I had literally 9 plays down the list that I like. But yeah, I like them
Name
all.
them
Yeah,
all.
Brighton and
Name
over
them all.
2.5. I might take them all. And then hopefully Everton don't screw the bet. But yeah, all of those you just mentioned because I do see goals. And I think Brighton, as I said, they're getting healthier now. I think they'll have too much firepower for Everton in this game.
All right, Nick, I'm going to go to you next. Give me your thoughts on this one. I know you're an XG guy, and I know you mentioned on earlier shows, I think around the third or fourth week of the Premier League season, you said Everton were underperforming in XG numbers. What they're actually scoring to what they were generating. And at some point, those two lines would cross, and they have. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Carmen, as far as what I had said prior. And listen, I hear everything Kevin is saying. I'm going to try to argue the other way in this match. One thing I struggle with, and this is a legitimate question for all of us, is it worse or harder for a team to perform on a short week coming off a game they just played, or is it worse from a betting standpoint when you have a team that's in a look-ahead spot? And I say that because even though Brighton's in the Europa, it's not the champions. I think that's an important competition to them. They're not even in the top 2 right now. They need to perform well. So they do have a look-ahead spot, if you will, this week in Brighton. So they might be a little bit, is it something they're going to rotate and change around in preparation for that? Maybe not, but it could be a little unfocused here in this match. But aside from that situation, let's strip the names away from these teams for a second, right? And let's just look at pure numbers. So this season, well, I'll go back to last season first. Everton, right now, they have 10 points. They sit near the bottom of the table, which is nothing new for the Everton that we've grown accustomed to the last couple of years. They're currently tied with Forest in 15th place. They've been fighting that relegation battle the last couple of years. Last year, they finished with a minus 0.52 expected goal differential per match, rightfully so, where they were in the table. This year, again, they're in that similar position. However, the difference is they're sitting at plus 0.28 on the expected goal differential. That is in the top half of the table, ranked 10th right now. Certainly not a team that's near the top of the league, but I don't think they're one of the worst teams in the league either. And guess who is barely ahead of them? It's Brighton at 9th, plus 0.39. So you have two teams, again, in terms of chances created. I know XG can never predict a game, but to me, it's a great measurement tool to kind of quantify how teams are performing and what to maybe expect going forward. But when I see that, and then you're giving me the team at home getting a head start, it's very hard for me to pass that up. Maybe there's some merit to what Kevin had said about, Everton did play and go to win that match against Burnley midweek. So I will definitely recognize that. I didn't watch the match, but I did look after it and tried to see what they did on the field. There were a lot of subs they were on the 60 to 70th minute mark in that second half. So clearly they got up. They were trying to then pull some guys and rest some legs. So I don't know if that'll help or not, but I did notice that. Still, take away the situation. Again, I don't know what's better. Is it better for a team to be coming off a game they were trying to win, or is it better to bet against a team that's got something to play for coming up in short rest? I really don't know. I've struggled with that over the years and years. So if we throw that situation out, because I can't make up my mind on what's better, I like Everton as far as getting the head start for sure. And if you think that the tired legs, maybe because of that midweek match, could play something, more likely that affects the team in the second half. So I'm looking at Everton in the first half. You can get them on a draw no bet. So if it is a draw at halftime, we're not losing our bet. Plus 115. Maybe they can win the first half. Maybe Brighton at the end of the match pull away. Maybe those tired legs on Everton do end up costing them at the end. But first half, I think, is decent for Everton here, and I don't think they're nearly as bad of a team as their table position suggests.
All right, Nick Borman of WagerTalk. Pavlos, we talk about it, and you look at Everton, and they've only scored 10 goals, but 8 of those, I think, have come in their last 4 Premier League games or 5 Premier League games. But they've scored 13 goals in their last 7 games across all competitions, going 5-2. So the team is scoring goals and winning. We all seem to be leaning one way. And I don't want to bring up bad memories, but as long as there's no red card in this game, I see goals. What do you see?
Listen, if we made this discussion about maybe 1-2 weeks ago, I'd definitely go goals here. However, Brighton, they've seemed to lost some steam as of late. I blame the absence of Stupinian. I've also talked about him in previous shows. He's their Ecuadorian left back. He always makes runs, up front. He links up very well with Mitoma, who is in front of him. So they're terrorizing defenses down that left flank. However, now they're struck with injuries. Stupinian is out and has been out for since that 6-1 loss to Aston Villa. So during that span, they can't keep clean sheets. They concede multiple goals to pretty much everyone. And their offense has lost some steam as well. Now his backup, Tariq Lamptey, is also questionable. By the way, Estupinian was pictured in the training yesterday, so he's questionable at best. He's probably not going to play the full 90 minutes. And then the third string left back that they have, Solly March, who is not actually a left back, but he's a jack of all trades, right? He can play left flank, right flank, wing back, like winger. He can play all sorts of positions. He scored 3 goals, 1 assist so far in the season. He's also out. So there's a lot of key players missing from Brighton right now. And they're struggling. While Everton, they're looking healthy. They're scoring goals. They kept clean sheets in back-to-back matches and in 3 of the last 4. So there's a lot of contradicting stats in this match, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. I'm just looking at a first half bet. I'm going to take the first half under 1.25 goal, which is a split line between first half under 1.5 goal and first half under 1 goal. Everton, their first 3 matches against Fulham, Wolves, and Arsenal at home, they were all goalless draws. The only matches that had a lot of goals in their home ground were the 2-1 loss to Luton, where there were 3 goals in that first half. But, Everton, they played really openly. They generated 2.74 expected goals in that first half. They needed the win, but Luton beat them. And the same happened with Bournemouth. They scored a couple of goals, but they score goals in the first half only against teams that they're, worse than them, and against teams that they can actually think that they can get some points. Brighton are not that thing. They're not to be underestimated. They can really hurt you if you're not careful. And I think Everton will start this match really carefully. So again, Everton in first halves at home, they have they scored 3 goals, conceded 2 in 5 goals. So that's an average of 1 goal in the first half. So I believe we're going to see a very careful first half here. So give me the first half under 1.25 goals at -115.
All right, Pavlos, Lagretos of WagerTalk.com, sporting the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world beard you got going there, man. I absolutely love it. I would grow one, but my wife would literally kick me to the curb if I did. Guys, let's talk Newcastle and Arsenal. Newcastle plus 185. The draw here is plus 240. Arsenal plus 147. How did these two teams do in the AFL? Well, Newcastle go to Old Trafford and win there. Arsenal lose at West Ham and Declan Rice's return to West Ham. And now they meet on the weekend, and both these teams obviously will be involved in midweek features in Champions and Europa or in Champions League. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one. While I liked goals in the first one, I don't like them here. This game to me just has the earmarkings of like one of those 0-0, 1-1 draws. And sure, with that said, it might likely finish 4-3, but I just don't see a lot of goals in this one. Obviously, Arsenal coming off that game. Saka did not start. He came in a little bit later. Odegaard was given some time off. Gabriel Jesus dealing with an injury. He wanted to play. Arteta said no. We'll see if he features on the weekend because there are more important things at play for this Arsenal team. They want to get a result, but I have to think they might actually be happy with a draw at St. James. So I'm going under 2.5 in this one, and I might sprinkle on the draw at plus 240. What are your thoughts?
Carmen, you've been reading my notes again. That's exactly what I have written down as well. Under and draw. Very tough game to call from a side perspective. You really could make a case for either side here. Newcastle looked very impressive in dispatching Manchester United last night. Although it was only Manchester United, you could argue. Rashford probably still hung over from partying last weekend after the City game. Not obviously as much of a successful night for Arsenal. Crashed out against West Ham. But, those results won't have any bearing on this game. I just don't see a clear-cut winner here. Arsenal's defence has been absolutely superb to start the season. No team has allowed fewer goals on the road this season than Arsenal have. They've shut out 3 of their last 4 opponents in the Premier League as well, one of which was Manchester City, obviously. And, in this fixture in particular, Arsenal have shut out Newcastle in 29 of their last 45 head-to-heads. Again, a factor that probably has little bearing on this game. But worth mentioning nonetheless. And for Newcastle, look, it's been a very similar story. Third best defensive XG team in the league this year. They've kept 3 straight clean sheets at home, I should say. So I think this will be a low-scoring game. I'm in complete agreement. I like the under 2.5 goals here. And as you mentioned, the draw. Plus 238. I can't not take a nibble of that price here, especially as I just don't see much separating these two teams after 90 minutes on Saturday.
All right, Kevin, Dolan, WagerTalk. Nick, I'm going to go to you next. You're looking at Arsenal, and they picked up some disappointing draws, but they get that big win against Sheffield United. It was Sheffield United. It was at the Emirates, so it was expected. But Arteta is looking towards Champions League. What kind of a lineup do you even think he puts out there? It's got to be something respectable because they're still within shooting range of top spot, and he's got a top 4. He's trying to manage this team, top 4 spot, going for the title, and then also putting out a very strong Champions League team. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's I'm not going to argue against Kevin in this one. I don't see a lot of action. I think personally, this is a game I'm going to sit back, watch, try to learn more about these teams and who they are and what they can do in the future. Kevin's right. I can't split the teams. I have no idea. I would not be surprised if either team wins. I will not be surprised on a draw. Goals, I slightly lean towards the under for a lot of the same reasons you guys both have mentioned. So I'll try to provide a little information on that. I mean, both have excellent defenses. Newcastle, 11 goals through 10 matches. Arsenal, 8. They're 2 of only 3 teams in the league that are allowing less than 1 expected goal per match, City being the other team and the one that ranks first. However, both teams do have 7-3 over records, but most of that's because of their offenses that can score 3 goals or more themselves. But generally, if you look at the results, they're doing that against weak teams. They're not necessarily going to put up those crooked numbers as easily against the other top teams. And we often see this. We talk about it. I think a lot of times we see big matchups like this. You see offensive-minded teams, you think it's going to be a lot of goals. It's quickly not, because these teams are very good at also controlling the tempo and controlling the ball, and they kind of negate one another's strengths. So I don't see a lot of action on either side offensively. You look at some of the results this year. Newcastle 1-0 loss to City on a combined 1.49 expected goals. Clearly not a lot of chances. 1-2 loss to Liverpool on a combined 2.4 expected goals. Of course, that was a really weird match. Newcastle led 1-0, Liverpool given a red, and then scored 2-1. So, yeah, whatever that means. Even the Newcastle loss to Brighton 3-1, there was only a combined 2.2 expected goals. So, yeah, the goals went in a couple of those matches, but the chances really weren't there. You got a couple of matches you could look at for Arsenal against City. They both ended under the total. The Community Shield, 1.72 combined expected goals, 1-1 draw. And then, of course, the Arsenal 1-0 win. There was only a combined 1.25 expected goals in that matches. And we're talking about teams that are good defensively here that I'm putting out there. The anomaly, I guess you could say, for Arsenal is their Spurs match that ended in 2-2 draw with a combined over 4 expected goals. But otherwise, I think we're going to see similar results to what we've seen on other top teams meeting up. So I don't see a lot here. I think under 2.5 is the better way to go on the total. I don't love anything. I just want to throw that out there. But I think if I'm doing anything, it would probably go under.
All right, I like it, Nick. Pavlos, okay, so we look at these teams, and we have on Tuesday, Newcastle have to go to Dortmund. That is still a very tough group with PSG and AC Milan. So every game in that one is going to be a big game in that group. You have Arsenal at home to Sevilla on Wednesday. And Arsenal sit top of the group, but a win against Sevilla pretty much will bury Sevilla and put Arsenal in the driver's seat as far as qualification into the next round with a couple rounds left, at least into the knockout stages. But here's an interesting fact. We talk about like unders, we talk about goals and overs. Everyone loves overs, but let's look at unders for a second. The last 10 games between these two teams, 9 Premier League games, 1 FA Cup game, and the both teams to score no has cashed all 10 times. And you can bet it at plus 120. Would you take that plus 120, both teams to score? No?
Yes. Yeah. I like both teams to score no, especially at a plus 120. However, I couldn't rule out a 1-1 draw in this situation. A draw that wouldn't necessarily hurt either of these two teams. I mean, Arsenal would still remain within, within shot of the top spot. Newcastle would still probably remain within, they would still remain sixth. But as you guys said, this is a tricky match because both teams have crucial Champions League matches coming up. And to be honest, as you said, Carmen, about the Arsenal versus Sevilla match, if Arsenal win, yes, they're probably through to the next round. But I wouldn't say that they would bury Sevilla. But I think Sevilla want to finish third and go to the Europa League because, they're Sevilla and they're married essentially to the Europa League. So, however, if they lose to Sevilla, that would put fire in that group. But yeah, I think both teams, Arsenal on the road, they're really careful. In EPL matches alone, they're 2-2 to the under 2.5 goals. With their 2 matches that went to the over, being against Bournemouth, where in a match where Arsenal had a couple of penalty kicks, and the other match was against Chelsea, where Arsenal were 2-0 down till the late stages of the match, and they scored 2 late goals to kill the under and grab a draw. So, as you said, Carmine, a long history of both teams to score no, and I'm going to second that. Each of the last 5 and 8 of the last 10 matches between the two sides, regardless of venue, finished with under 2.5 goals. And the only 2 matches in that span that finished with over 2.5 goals were both at the Emirates, in the reverse fixture, with Arsenal scoring late goals in both matches. So I'm going to take the under 2.5 goals, minus 110. I think there's a very good chance these two cancel each other out. Newcastle at home, yes, they can score a lot, but they can score a lot against naive teams. And Newcastle, prior to a Champions League match this season, in the weekend prior to a Champions League match, they're 2-1 to the under 2.5 goals. So they're really careful in that weekend match prior to a Champions League match. Yes, they rotate a little bit, and they also have a lot of injury concerns right now. Isaac is out, Botman in the center defense is out, Tonali is out. So there's a lot of players missing from that Newcastle side. They do have to rotate ahead of the Champions League. So I think they're probably going to cancel each other out. So give me the under 2.5 goals at minus 110 here.
Right, Pavlos. So guys, listen, I think it's a solid play. The thing that worries me here is the fact that we all like the under, so I know our producer is cashing his 401k in right now and just pumping the over. Dan Alexander, we love you, and we are going to go to our promo before we do the final game, which is Chelsea and Tottenham on Monday. Guys, we have an end-of-the-year soccer promo. Normally, a 30-day soccer package for all plays, all access, including 5% plays, is $199. You can get the rest of the year for $199. So it's essentially 2 months of soccer for $199. No coupon needed. It is up on everyone's page that is on this show over at WagerTalk. Just head over to your favorite cappers page and you can click on it, and there you go. You get the rest of the plays. And the sooner you get it, obviously, the more days and more plays that you will get. So take advantage of that deal. $199 end of the year soccer promo. All right, boys, Tottenham and Chelsea. We've seen so many duds on Mondays I'm hoping this isn't another one of them, but these are 2 very good teams. Kev, I'm going to go to you first, as always, again, because you said before the season, the Spurs with this new manager were going to be impressive, and impressive they've been. I listen. I still find it hard to figure out where Chelsea's goals are coming from. I get it. Some injuries, and Cuckoo is, if I pronounce that right, is back on the pitch. When he's back into a lineup remains to be seen, but he'll obviously add scoring to them. But until then, I still can't bet this Blues team on the road. especially at the Hotspur Stadium. So it's Tottenham for me, plus 115. I love the way Son and Maddison are playing together. Give me plus 115 on this one. I love the plus short favorite money here, and that's where I'm going. Give me your thoughts.
Chelsea in a dud. Oh, I can't see that coming. I can't see that happening. You mentioned as well, like I was devastated when Postecoglou left Celtic because what he can bring in terms of morale to a club. I mean, we've seen it at Tottenham. He just boosts the entire team. He's all out attack, fast flowing football. So, I mean, like Celtic lost the title, obviously, to Rangers a couple of years ago, and he got them back in the big time. Next thing they're playing Real Madrid and so on, the Champions League. So, big loss for them. Big bonus for Tottenham, obviously. And I wrote a preview article for this game earlier in the week. Usually my EPL, Spanish La Liga, French League One articles go out either Tuesday or Wednesday morning, so feel free to check them out if you haven't already done so. Nick does some great runs as well for Bundesliga and Italian Serie A, so we've got all the bases covered in Europe. But in that article, I made a case for the outright draw. Now, please hear me out. Plus 270 looks like a big price in a derby game between, despite what recent results might suggest. Two teams who the data, we mentioned the data in game one, has found it very hard to separate. Again, if you take the names off the teams, look at the data, very, very little separating these two teams. Chelsea's expected points return is pretty much neck and neck with Tottenham this season. Tottenham have scored 8 goals at home. Chelsea have scored 7 on the road. But in defence in particular, that's where Chelsea have really stood out this year and actually been significantly better than Tottenham as well. Chelsea have allowed 1.6 shots per game less at the back than Tottenham this year. They're allowing 0.15 expected goals against less as well. And Chelsea ranks only behind Newcastle, Arsenal, and Manchester City this year in terms of limiting scoring opportunities to opponents. So getting a head start on Chelsea, looking at that data, definitely appeals from a straight numbers perspective. But. Form is obviously a thing. And while I'm not completely gone off the idea since writing that article of an outright draw, I've already played it for small units. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tottenham edge it, given the way they're playing right now. They're just, they're playing with such a massive amount of confidence. That's very hard. We can talk about XG and numbers all day, but, it's the intangible factors of that confidence playing. They're going to be very hard to stop. So I could see a 1-0. I could see a 2-1. I could see them just getting over the line in this game. So I'm going to sprinkle on the draw. Like I said, I've already done that. But I'm also going to take a piece of the Tottenham to win by exactly 1 goal at plus 245 as well. I think it's a big price. As, again, don't laugh. I do believe Chelsea can be competitive in this one. So I don't think Tottenham will blow them out. I do think it'll be close. And if they get over the line, it's probably by the minimum. So Tottenham to win by 1 goal plus 245.
All right, Nick, I'm going to give you a chance to laugh at him if you want. I don't think you will, but listen, I get it. Chelsea are playing a little bit better than they were earlier in the season, but when I look at some of their games, it's kind of the strength of the schedule and the teams. An EFL game that they won yesterday against Blackburn, but a loss to Brentford. A draw against Arsenal in which they blew the lead in that one, a 2-0 lead. You can't blow a lead in the Premier League when you need the points, but wins over Burnley, Fulham, those aren't big to me. A win here would be big to me if they can somehow go to Tottenham and come away with 3 points. What are your thoughts?
Well, clearly, all Tottenham has needed to do for the last however many years was just get rid of Harry Kane. Clearly the only guy holding them back because, wow, they have had a great start this season. But listen, Kevin stole a lot of my thunder. And, while we're talking about this match in particular, the XG data that Kevin and I look at a lot of times is also looking at longer term, projections or hopes of what you think is going to happen. And while these teams are separated by 14 unbelievable points already in the table, these teams are not separated by 14 points in actual talent, let's be honest. So, and the odds makers clearly know that. It's a Asian handicap of a quarter a goal, home favorite. I mean, that's just a standard home favorite. That's telling me that the odds makers have these two priced or valued very similarly. So I think they know what's going on here, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be just a straightforward Tottenham win. I do think They could get over the line. They could win. I wouldn't be surprised, again, on any kind of a result here. But I do want to say that based on what Kevin had mentioned about these expected points and the fact that these two teams are neck and neck, you got Tottenham at 5th, not top of the table, and you got Chelsea at 6th, not in middle of the bottom of the table. So long-term forecasting, perhaps take a look at Spurs as a team to regress and Chelsea as a team to improve and start getting results just for future games coming up and trying to get ahead of line movements and such. But in this match, I can't really pick a lot of difference. I don't necessarily trust that Tottenham will get over the line. I don't think it'll be that easy as Kevin mentioned. So I kind of agree that this is going to be tight. And if in that same instance, I look for an under a lot of the times in these tight games. I mean, Chelsea certainly don't want Spurs to run wild. That's the one thing they've been doing is scoring goals at will, well ahead of their expected goals, but they're scoring them, and that confidence can keep scoring goals. So Chelsea's got to do something to slow them down. And Kevin mentioned that the Blues have actually been very good defensively. So I think that's their best chance to get points from that. I think they will do a good job at controlling this pace. What's funny, Carm, you mentioned the both teams to score no prop in the last match versus Arsenal and Newcastle. I didn't even look at that, yet I did look at it here, and it's 8-1 over the last 9 between these teams, both teams to score no. So again, generally you're seeing a one-sided fixture. Generally that means they're going to be lower scoring games. It's under 2 3/4 goals right now. I think there's a decent value on trying to go under in this matchup.
All right, Nick, I like it. Pavlos, I'm going to go a different route with you. Have you looked at the cards in this game at all? Last year, these two teams, 5 in the final fixture between them. The fixture prior to that, 5 yellows, 2 red cards. But the red cards were to the managers. I don't know if you remember the Antonio Conte, Tuchel handshake that wasn't a handshake, that looked like they were arm wrestling thing at the end, and they were both given red cards in that one. Neither one is obviously here with their teams, but would you even look at the card props here?
Yes, but my problem lies with the referee, because Michael Oliver, up until a couple of seasons ago, he was dishing out red cards, but in the last couple of seasons, I think he has like 1 red card he dished out. So he's really careful. He tends to speak to the players more than actually card them, and he's not a very good referee for cards. I think he averages about 4 or 5 cards per game in the last 3 seasons. So to be honest, I didn't look at cards in this match, but I will. You gave me a nice assist to look at the cards, but the cards have been flying in the EPL so far in the season. So yeah, that's definitely something to look at. But I'm going with Tottenham moneyline here, and there's several reasons why I like that. First of all, I love what Postecoglou has done with the team, and I'm not really fond of what Chelsea have done. And Chelsea, in each game they use different lineups. You can't really build chemistry like that, man. There's only 3 or 4 players who are nailed in the starting 11. All the other ones are different, left backs in each match, different center midfielders. Sterling plays as a false 9. Sterling plays as a left winger. You can't really build chemistry with that. And I'm just a guy. I'm not even a coach, and I'm not sure why it's so hard for them to see that they need to decide on which players you're going to use 5 or 6 of them, and then build around that. So big chemistry issues for Chelsea. However, what's very interesting in this matchup is how Tottenham have struggled mightily when facing Chelsea in recent years. In fact, they've won just 1 of the last 13 matches against Chelsea, regardless of competition and venue. They have 1 win, 3 draws, and 9 losses, which also means that they've won just 1 of their last 6 home matches against Chelsea, with Chelsea winning 3 of the last 4 in this venue. However, take those results with a grain of salt, because those results are from back in the day where Chelsea, were much better than they are now, and Tottenham were kind of they were worse than they are now. Right, this season they've been firing no cylinders. Defense looks great, midfield looks great. So again, take those results with a grain of salt. In the last match these two played against each other, Tottenham broke the curse. They were winless in 12 matches. They beat Chelsea by 2-0. And I expect something similar here. I think that streak, because I do take historical data into consideration when, especially in local derbies like this one, which is a London derby. So yeah, this looks like very few goals here, but I think Tottenham get the job done. Tottenham moneyline is at plus 115, if I'm not mistaken. It goes down by the minute, so I think that's a great value for the league leaders of the EPL against a Chelsea side that has been unimpressive to say the least. So yeah, Tottenham moneyline plus 115 here.
There you have it. The final word on Tottenham, Chelsea, and our 3 games today from Pavlos Solagaretos. And Pavlos, just an afterthought on it. The cards for this game are 5.5, shaded 120 both ways. They always get juiced, the 40-cent line. And the Chelsea team total is 2.5 minus 160 to the over. The Tottenham is 2.5 minus 120 to the over. So maybe we see some cards, but that's a Monday game. So we got to get through the weekend first. And then we'll have a little extra money maybe to bet those cards. Guys, tell us what you think of today's show, whether and the plays, whether you agree or disagree. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button. We are over 132,000 subscribers, I believe, right now, on our way to 133. Help us get there. Hit that subscribe button. Never miss any of the actionable sports shows on WagerTalk Media. And of course, hit that like button as well and let us know who your best bet is for this weekend. We'll now head over and we'll just do a recap and see what everyone has up at WagerTalk. And Kev, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got a 5% play poster up right now in college football for the weekend, Carmine. Really, really like this play. And I'm number 2 in college football totals all time at WagerTalk, so definitely one not to be missed there. EPL and Euro packages will be up sometime later tonight. Likely in the AM, it will be late, so keep a lookout for those first thing in the morning. And, looking forward to another great week.
All right, best of luck to you, Nick. Your Philadelphia Union are alive and well. Tell us what you have up at WagerTalk.
Yes, MLS back in action this weekend, up over 40 units this season. 5th straight winning season, although it's not done yet, so I won't quite say that, but already added a couple more units in the playoffs thus far, so I'll have that card up shortly. And I do have a 5% max play going in Europe on the weekend too. I've been taking one play that I love the most each weekend, the last couple, and hit the last couple in a row. So trying to go for 3 in a row this weekend. Hopefully we'll catch that one.
All right, Pavlos, you're like that big wheel of cheese that they chase down the hill. You're on a roll, man. You just keep on winning. Tell us what you have up at WagerTalk, and we'll have a look at your leans.
Okay, I just have to say that I won both my 5% plays on Tuesday and Wednesday in the MLS and the German Cup. On fire with this 5%. Number 1 in win percentage in 5% releases year to date and last 365. And of course, number 1 in all sports year to date and last 365. So it's been going amazing. Number 1 in the Bundesliga this season. I do have a 5% top bet going live in Europe on the weekend and a 4% best bet in the Bundesliga as well. And there's a couple of few other spots that I'm looking at, and they're definitely going to be loaded at the page.
All right. Best of luck to you, Pavlos. Keep on rolling. Myself, NHL card will be up for today, Thursday, and then we'll have a ton of plays up this weekend. Everything from NFL, number 1 in NFL last 30 days at WagerTalk, number 3 overall on the season. So we're going to keep that run going. We're going to have some EPL soccer, some Italian soccer, some La Liga soccer as well too, and of course plenty of NHL action as well. Guys, if you love the soccer content, you love soccer plays. Remember, that deal is up on everyone's page the rest of the year, 2023 soccer. Every single play in soccer, props, card bets, 5% plays, everything, totals, all for $199, which is the same price as a 30-day soccer all access. So you're getting 2 months, and the sooner you grab it, the more plays, obviously, you'll get. We'll be back next week. We're going to mix it up a little bit next Thursday with a bunch of different games and some Champions League, some Europa League, and some of the other domestic leagues in Europe as well, too. For myself, Kevin Dolan, Nick Borman, and Pavlos Solagaretos, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck with your wagers.